back to a new episode of eProcast. I'm your host, the Big E, and I have alongside me a very special guest, all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, after his family holidays near Lake Michigan, and I have alongside me Peter Dinwiddie, the VP of Basketball Operations at Indiana Pacers. He graduated from Indiana University in Bloomington and played for the IU rugby team. This is actually how I got connected with Peter through my good friend David Bryant, the CEO of Legendborn. By the way, shout out to you, David, and Doc Sales, who has been a professor at IU for many years now. Peter, welcome to eProcast, and please share a bit more about your background and how you got to work in sports.
Yeah, Eugenie, first, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. My background is a little bit different. As you said, I went to Indiana University and I graduated from IU in 1999. While I was at IU, I knew I wanted to try to work in pro sports. Obviously, I knew I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. So I did some research when I was at IU, and I learned that a lot of individuals working in front offices or sports teams had a law degree. So I figured that my next step would be going to law school, and then I would try and use my law degree in the sports industry. So in 2001, I went to New England School of Law, which is in Boston, Massachusetts. And I was there for 3 years. And during my time at New England School of Law, I was able to do 3 different internships. My first internship was with Patty Jones, and Patty's an entertainment attorney, and she's also an adjunct professor at the law school. And so that was an unbelievable opportunity and a great experience. And it really, I learned a lot of practical skills of what, attorneys who are practicing in the entertainment industry, what they do on a daily basis. And so I really enjoyed that experience. But, as I said, I wanted to try and work in sports. So after working for Patty, I was able to receive an internship with the New England Patriots. And that was an unbelievable experience. I worked for Jack Mula, who was their director of legal and business affairs. And so I got to deal somewhat with some football operations deals, but, majority of what we were working on was on the business side. But a lot of marketing agreements, a lot of sponsorship agreements, but I love the culture and I love the experience that I had at the Patriots. It was really all the different departments within the Patriots organization came together, and they were trying to accomplish one goal, and everyone was trying to row in the same direction in order to, win a Super Bowl. And so I loved that experience. And then after working for the Patriots or interning for the Patriots, I received an internship with Kristen Kaliga, and Kristen is a principal at K Sports and Entertainment, which is a sports agency. And so I had been on the management side. I had been working for the Patriots, but then I wanted to, see what life on the representation side was like. And so, Kristen gave me an opportunity, and I really enjoyed the experience I had at K Sports and Entertainment, and it really opened my eyes to what life is like, being an agent. And, at the end of the day, after, kind of evaluating the full circle of, being an agent and then also working on the management side, as you said, with rugby, I kind of had that team mentality. Like on the rugby pitch, it's 15 guys working together. And on the Patriots, I kind of had the experience of all the different departments coming together to try and accomplish a goal. So I said, I'm going to try and see if I can receive an opportunity with the professional team in the operations side. And so after law school, I moved back to Indianapolis. I took the bar exam in Indianapolis, and I passed the bar exam. But during that time period, I'd sent resumes to all 32 NFL teams, all 30 NBA teams, Major League Baseball teams, hockey teams. And I was just trying to break in and receive any opportunity, with the sports franchise. Unfortunately, I was not successful, but I was fortunate to receive an opportunity as a contract attorney with the Finish Line. I don't know the Finish Line. It's athletic. It's a retail athletic apparel company, and their corporate headquarters are in Indianapolis. And so I received an opportunity as a contract attorney, and I was reviewing different lease agreements. And during the time period there, I was very fortunate and thankful for the opportunity. But at the same time, I knew I was passionate about the sports industry. I wanted to try and get back into it. And then a player, individual on the rugby team, Trent Hahn, his father, Greg Hahn, I had connected with Greg, and I talked to him, and he was friends with David Morway, who was the Pacers GM. And Greg reached out to David on my behalf and told David of my interest. And David said, unfortunately, we don't have anything on the operations side, but let me see if we have anything on the business side. David got back to Greg and said, we have an opportunity on the business side. It's as an account exec, and it's a ticket sales rep. And so the account exec at the time, it was the bottom of the totem pole, and I told Greg, I said, I want to get my foot in the door. I'm willing to do whatever. So I applied for the position. I was fortunate to receive an interview. And then after the interview, I received the opportunity. So, my first job, with the Pacers as an account exec, I had a base salary of $13,000, and then we were making 10% commission on all the sales. And the climate, the sales climate at the time wasn't extremely positive. There had been some off-court issues that had occurred with the team in Indianapolis. So there weren't a lot of people who were interested in purchasing, full season ticket packages, half season ticket packages, or, mini packages. So, it was a tough sales climate, but I wanted to do it just because I knew I was passionate about the sports industry. I wanted to try and I wanted to at least give myself a chance to see if I could, make a career in the sports industry. So I took the opportunity. I was able to have some success selling tickets. And after about 6 months, I transitioned from the account exec position, but I became a group event specialist. And so my focus now was on selling group tickets. So groups of 20 or more people that would come out, they receive discounted price points. They receive certain benefits. And so I did that. And at the same time, Donnie Walsh, who still works for the Pacers, but at the time he was CEO of the franchise, he's also an attorney, and he found out there's attorney working in ticket sales. And so Donnie had his assistant, Susie Fisher, reach out to Brenda Smith at the time. Now it's Brenda Freeland, but and Brenda reached out to me and said, would you be interested in talking to Donnie Walsh? Of course, so I'd be more than happy to. So they set up an appointment. I went down. I met with Donnie. I told Donnie how I was passionate about trying to transition over into the basketball side. And Donnie said, okay, let's meet again. A couple of weeks later, I met with Donnie for a second time. Then after the third meeting, Donnie said, what I'd like to do is give you some projects and just kind of mentor you. And after, I give you an assignment, you can come back and I'll review the assignment with you and give you some feedback, critique it one way or another. And he gave me access to a couple of the databases on the basketball side as well. And so I did that. I was still in group sales. I became manager of group sales, I think in 2008. And I was still working with Donnie, once or twice a month. And then in 2008, Donnie left to become the president of the New York Knicks. And when I talked to Donnie, he called me down to his office to let me know of his plans to leave. And he said, I'm not sure what's going to happen, with you. I don't know if I'm going to have any opportunities in New York for you, but I am going to talk to Larry to see if Larry, has a need for someone with your skill set on his staff. And so then it was about a month later, I was sitting in my cubicle, my phone rang, and, on the caller ID, it said Larry Bird. I picked up the phone. Larry asked me to come down to his office. So I went down and, Larry introduced himself to me. And, of course, I knew exactly who Larry was.
Yep.
Introduced myself to him. And, Larry said, based on the recommendation that he received from Donnie Walsh, Larry wanted to extend me an opportunity to work in his front office as director of basketball administration. And so, obviously I accepted that opportunity. And that was in April of 2008. Now, unfortunately, I had been promoted to manager of group sales at the time, and the Indiana Fever season was just starting. And so we sold both for the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever. And so I couldn't leave my business role at that time. I committed to working as in my current role as manager of group sales through the end of the Fever season. So I was working kind of as director of basketball administration and the manager of group sales until September. And then in September, I transitioned fully to director of basketball administration.
Wow, that's crazy. How did you feel, working in two positions at the same time? Was it challenging?
It was definitely challenging, but I enjoyed it. I had a lot of late nights at the office. Shortly thereafter, I moved from a cubicle into an office, which gave me a little bit more privacy. I currently have 4 kids. Our youngest son was born July of 2008. So just trying to balance everything was challenging, but, thankfully my wife's a saint, and she, allowed me and gave me some freedom so that I could, kind of focus on, all my duties as the manager of group sales. And then also, after I finish all those duties, I'd stay and assist David Morway with, any type of jobs that he, any projects that he needed help with, just because the off season is extremely busy on the basketball side. So you're dealing with the draft, you're dealing with free agency, you're dealing with planning. 2008, we had Danny Granger. We extended him. And so we were trying to, put together some different projections and models to figure out what his value would be. And then, looking at all the different numbers and then filling those numbers into spreadsheets and seeing how, projecting where the cap's going to be and trying to figure out how we're going to manage the books, with Danny at different numbers. So there's a lot on the plate, but, it was challenging, but I loved it. If I didn't enjoy it, I don't think I would have been able to do it just because of the amount of work it was. But, I enjoyed my opportunities with the Fever. Then I also enjoyed, the opportunities on the basketball side as well.
Right. And to give a little bit of a brief context, because you mentioned you've been both in business, from the business aspect at Pacers and also from the operational now. How is the organization broken down at the moment when it comes, what's falling under the operations umbrella, what's falling under business umbrella, just to give a little bit of context to the audience, what's what?
Yeah. So, thankfully with our organization, we're very well integrated. We have a president of business operations, and that's Rick Fusen. And then we have a president of basketball operations, and that's Kevin Pritchard. But, we're one company. We're Pacer Sports and Entertainment, and everyone's under one umbrella. And, there's a crossover between the different divisions. And there has to be, just if you're trying to, run a successful organization. Communication is extremely key. You got to make sure everyone's on the same page. An issue that impacts the team is also going to impact the business side. So we got to make sure we keep everyone abreast of what's going on. But on the business side, you've got, marketing departments, you've got ticket sales, you've got corporate partnerships, which is selling all the different sponsorship deals. You got IT, you got community relations, you've got your finance division, you've got facilities. So, there are a lot of different, operations on the business side and the basketball side. You've got a front office, you've got scouts, you've got coaches, you've got sports medicine, you've got performance, you've got analytics, you've got operations, you've got security, media relations. So there's like I said, there's a lot of crossover between both of the divisions. Which, there has to be in order to run a successful franchise.
Right. And Peter, let's talk a bit about your role in the Pacers at the moment as VP of Basketball Operations. And what are your day-to-day responsibilities look like, or a day of work at the Bankers Life Fieldhouse? the home of Pacers. I don't know if you're now over there or you're working from home, but just let's walk our audience through a day of life of Peter Dinwiddie.
Yeah, no, Eugene, I mean, that's one of the positive things, or one of the things I really enjoy about my job is, there isn't a daily, like each day is different. I don't know what I'm going to work on each and every day. Obviously, I have an idea of, hey, this is some of the tasks I want to accomplish today. But, I always say you're a phone call away from, a new issue arising, or, trying to put out a fire. Now, obviously, a lot of what we do is dictated by the league calendar. The league calendar currently goes from July 1 to June 30th. Obviously, due to the hiatus, and now we've got the restart occurring. The calendar's been shifted. Usually this time of year, you're kind of taking a deep breath and unwinding, because you've gone through the playoffs, you've gone through the finals, you've gone through the draft, you've gone through free agency. But now, Saturday we have our first game. So, mentally just trying to refocus and recalibrate has been, a challenge. But usually what you're working on is dictated by the league calendar. So, I talked about the draft, I talked about free agency. Then you got training camp, then you got preseason, then you got regular season games. At the same time, we have a G League franchise, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So in August, you start putting together the G League roster, and then signing all those deals. And then after our training camp, the G League players begin their training camp. And then you have the trade deadline in February. And then March, our season really starts to ramp up as well. Then you've got, continue to prepare for the draft. So a lot of times in March, front office execs will get out and watch a lot of the different college conference tournaments, which are occurring. And then maybe take, another trip overseas to watch some more international prospects, and then come back. So, like I said, you have an idea of what, depending on the time of year, what you're going to be working on. But, from a day-to-day basis, everything, it always changes. Like I said, there'll be days where I, get to the office and I have a to-do list, and I've got things that I want to, work on. And all of a sudden, it'd be 6:00 at night, and the first item on my list, I haven't even completed yet, just because, a couple of other items or issues arose that, just kind of needed my attention. So it's kind of a shift. And, our president of basketball operations, Kevin Pritchard, he always says you've got to be willing to call audibles. And, we're calling a lot of audibles just because things change, so constantly.
Right. I think it's going to bed and waking up is the only same things that looks like every day.
You're right about that.
All right, Peter. We'll just touch a little bit the bubble subject and so on. But before getting there, what do you like the most in your current role?
What I really like the most is that each and every day is different. I really like, coming in and, have an idea of what I'm going to work on, but at the same time, knowing that, things change so quickly that, I could be pulled in a different direction. And, it just keeps you fresh mentally, because you got to be willing to, think on your feet. And, there are times where you have to come up with, timely solutions to issues, just because if you let the issues linger, the small fire or small issue could become bigger. And so, just staying mentally fresh, mentally sharp, and, knowing that you always got to be on your toes.
Absolutely. Peter, the NBA season starts tonight, resumes tonight.
Yes.
And personally, I can't be more excited, to see 22 teams get back in action, even though it's in a bubble, but, at least unless it's safe, I think it's the way to do it. We saw some unfortunate situations with baseball restarting their season, and, the Marlins getting a couple of players tested positive, but hopefully we won't see that in NBA. How how are you operating in the current scenario with the pandemic going on?
The league has done an unbelievable job creating the bubble. And I know a lot of people have been, focusing on everything the league has done in Orlando to create the bubble environment. I know the league put out a press release yesterday saying that, since the last round of testing, they have zero positive case of the virus in the bubble, which is unbelievable. But the league, prior to getting teams to Orlando, the league did an unbelievable job of setting up all the different rules and health and safety protocols that each team needed to implement in their own facilities to create a safe and clean environment. And so, it was kind of a two-part, process, and you had everything the league did prior to teams' departure. And the league, obviously, they built in plenty of cushions because the league knew, hey, it's a pandemic. You can't really control the virus. We're just trying to mitigate and contain the virus. And so they knew there'd be some players that tested positive. And so, they built in the cushion to allow those players to recover, to quarantine, and then still be able to travel and arrive, with their teams in Orlando. And then obviously, all the steps the league has taken in Orlando has been unbelievable just to create a safe and sanitary environment. And, you see it's early on and, there's a lot of basketball that, needs to be played, and you got to continue to stress the importance of everyone following the guidelines. But it's really been impressive and unbelievable, the success that the league has. And I think, so much of that success is because of everything the league emphasized prior to teams departing, and all the educational sessions which occurred with the players in the league, and getting everyone on the same page in the communication, is paramount. And the league has, excelled and done, a great job in those different areas. And, I've been proud to, be part of the process. It's been extremely enjoyable. I've learned so much during this process. And, it's been enjoyable to continue to watch, and see the success the league has, had up to this point in Orlando.
Absolutely. And I truly believe I'm following all the, sports news, sports podcasts, and so on. And I see everyone is just saying really awesome words to NBA for creating that safe environment in Orlando, for putting all the, protocols step by step. What happens if, what's in case someone is testing positive, and so on and so forth. So I think that's really a great example to lead by. And Peter, we'll get a little bit more now into putting a lot of emphasis on the audience as well. Since you've been in in their shoes, you've been already, in at this age, and this podcast being the one for those who want to work in sports. And I believe working for an NBA franchise is a dream for a lot of the listeners, and for many young guys and gals out there. I think it'll be really valuable for the audience if you could share how they could join an organization like Pacers or any other, in the league, and what are the top skills or personality traits the organization is looking in first position when someone is getting an interview for a internship or part-time or full-time role.
Yeah, Eugene, I know you just touched upon internships. I think internships are extremely valuable. Obviously, the route I took was a little unorthodox because I transitioned from the business side to the basketball side. But I tell individuals now all the time, like, the path I took probably doesn't make the most sense for an individual trying to break into the sports industry now, because when I was doing it, teams didn't have internships on the operations side of the business. But now I believe all 30 NBA teams have a basketball operations internships. I believe most of them have multiple internships in basketball operations. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, a lot of teams have had to kind of suspend those current internships. I know we have internally had to do that. And I know I've talked to several colleagues in their franchises, their teams have taken that same position. But I think internships, are key. I know when we look to hire an entry-level position, a lot of times when we look at the candidates, we go back and look at our internship pool because we know how these individuals fit into the culture that we've created here with the Pacers. And so an intern might not be able to parlay their internship into a job right away, but you never know down the road if an opportunity is going to present itself and you've done a good job in the internship. I think the organization is probably going to think about, you to fill that role. So I think for individuals trying to break in, trying to receive, an internship with as many teams as possible. I tell all of our interns all the time, after they leave here, try and do an internship with another team. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to try and, have a broad network and meet as many people as possible. Try and intern with as many different organizations as possible. Obviously, when I was in law school, I had 3 different internships and with 3 different organizations and entities, just because I wanted, I wanted to try and learn as much as possible. And that's kind of the same for individuals trying to break into the sports industry. I think the more teams you can conduct internships with, you're going to continue to increase your opportunities of landing a position with the front office.
Right. And what are the values that you guys at Pacers are sharing, that you're showing to the community? That whoever are joining, of course, you would look at someone to join the organization who are meeting those who are looking the same way, like who would have the same vision or mission, if you know what I'm trying to say. So what are those visions or missions or values that you're looking into the prospects?
Yeah, no, Eugenie, that's a great question. So, kind of like the team that we build and put together, the fit is so important. Obviously, you're not just looking at talent, you're trying to build a team. And so that's what we look at, with the front office as well. We want individuals that are going to fit into the culture that we've created. We've had interns in the past that are extremely, smart, but sometimes, they might think I'm too smart or too good to do a menial task. Well, we don't have the largest staff. And so there are times where everyone's got to, chip in and do tasks that, might be outside their job duties. But, you got to have that mentality that I'm here and I'm, willing to do whatever it takes to help this franchise continue to move in the right direction, to help the team win. And, even if that is doing a task that, you might think you're too good to do. I mean, there are plenty of times I'll help, go to the mailroom and bring packages back, or, hey, if we were in India with the team and we didn't have the same support staff that we had. So, I was carrying bags from the bus into the locker room just to help the equipment manager out. And so you got to have that mindset that you got to be willing to do, whatever it takes. And so interns that have that mindset, and they're also, interns that are, likable, interns that, bring positivity, bring sunshine to the office. You want to have that on a day-to-day basis in your front office, in the environment. So, those are some, important characteristics and traits that we look for when we're trying to add to our front office and continue to, grow and develop our culture.
Tremendous. Peter, what is your most memorable sporting event you've ever been to, and why? It might not be connected to Pacers, of course.
Yeah. With the Pacers, I think it's really, I don't have one. I have so many great memories, especially the team in 2012, 13, 14. Those teams went to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. And I was still pretty young. In 2012, I became vice president of basketball operations. And so I just didn't realize how hard it is to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. You're in the Final Four. And that was so much fun, just watching those teams. Once you get to the playoffs, to continue to advance is extremely difficult. And in 2013, we were the 3 seed, and we beat the Knicks, who were the 2 seed. And Game 6 was an unbelievable environment, unbelievable experience. Roy Hibbert had an unbelievable block on Carmelo Anthony, and we wanted, if we were up in the series 3-2, and then obviously Game 6 was the elimination game, and so we clinched the series by winning that. But that game was back and forth. It was a tense atmosphere. We didn't want to go back to Madison Square Garden to play the Knicks on their home court for a Game 7. So that was a special game. But just those 2 years, 2012, 13, 14, having the teams that advanced and reached back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, unbelievable memories. I still think about how special those times were, and just it brought the entire city and community together, and the entire state was happy and supportive, and it was just really fun, exciting times for our city and state. And then as a talking about rugby, I mean, probably my most fun sporting event was 1998. Our rugby team, we advanced to the Final Four, and that was so much fun. We got beat our first game by Stanford, then we got beat our second game by Navy, but they were just extremely fun. Nationally, our rugby team program wasn't really thought, or didn't receive a ton of respect, and so it was just fun kind of being the underdog, having that mentality. We competed with Stanford, we competed with Navy. Both the scores of both those games, they were extremely close matches, and they were a lot of fun, and it just helped elevate the IU rugby program, and it was a fun and special experience. Something that I'll never forget.
Absolutely. And before the call, just for on the record for the audience, I shared with Peter the fact that I refereed IU versus Iona in Bloomington last year. It was a preseason, but it was during the alumni day, and we're just having fun because this it brings a lot of IU grew a lot of talent, a lot of noticeable people, and big personalities like I'll say Peter, I'll add here Mark Cuban, and everyone getting to join, to get together once a year. I think it's a great day, and it's definitely an event that no IU alum want to miss.
Always a good time there.
Right. Peter, you mentioned you got back from your vacation a few days ago, and you got back into the grind mode at the organization. But what have you been up to lately? What you've been reading, watching, or listening, so the audience has a little bit of, maybe they will follow your footsteps and see what's new and what you've listened or read or watching lately.
Yeah, no. So a book currently reading is called MVP Machine. It's Kevin Pritchard, who I mentioned earlier, our president. He recommended that. It's been great. Just talks about player development, a lot of the steps that baseball teams have taken to try and improve their teams through player development. Obviously, analytics have been huge in baseball, and now teams in baseball are utilizing analytics differently. Just to try and gain an advantage. I mean, obviously, the whole Moneyball era has somewhat passed, and now teams are looking for that next competitive advantage. And player development is something that our franchise has stressed for a long time. Just being a small market team, we've had success building teams through the draft, and then just developing the players here internally, and also with our G League team, the Fort Wayne Matty. And so it's a really good book. About 3/4 of the way done. I've enjoyed it, so it's good. And then also I've just been trying to educate myself and trying to listen and learn as much as possible about a lot of the social issues that have been in the U.S. and around the world, recently. We have a player on our team, Malcolm Brogdon, who has been unbelievable. He's been outspoken. He's been on a lot of different, national media shows and, voiced his opinions. Miles Turner has been very active. Justin Holiday has been very active. And so, I've just been trying to learn and listen and educate myself as much as possible about a lot of the injustices which have, occurred not only in our country, but in other parts of the world as well. So just been listening to a lot of different podcasts, reading a ton of different articles, a lot of stories, and just trying to get, a much better idea and, much better understanding about, a lot of the systemic, issues which have occurred in the U.S. and throughout the world for a long time.
Right. And Peter, I'll invite you to play the reactions game with me, but just a quick question before doing that. You mentioned the players, how important is to continuously helping to educate them, what's going off the court. What has been, and I think this will be really valuable to the current athletes or just everyone who is doing sports right now, but they don't know what will the life after sports, after their career would look like. What is Pacers doing at the moment with the players? What activities in order to keep them engaged and educate them on what the life after their career would look like?
So we have, in our franchise, we have a player relations department, and the player relations department consists of 3 people. Karen Atkinson's our vice president of player relations. And so a lot of what that department focuses on is transitioning, trying to get the guys as many life skills as possible to help them transition with their post-playing career. Obviously, the average career of an NBA player, it might have changed, but at one time it was 3.4 years. And so while you're playing the game, you never, see the end coming. You always think you're going to play forever. But obviously, unfortunately, that's not the reality. So anything we can do just to kind of, help prepare our guys for life after basketball. Obviously, our culture, we look at everyone, as one family, one big family. We want to support the family members as much as possible. And, one thing we want to do is try and, put the players in position to be as successful as possible post-playing career. So, we have speakers that come in. We have different educational workshops that we do throughout the course of the season just to kind of help prepare the guys, give the guys different life lessons or different skills that they can utilize post-playing career, just because it's extremely important. When you're here with our franchise, obviously, it's important, what you do on the court, but, off the court as well. We want to put everyone in, position to be successul.
Right. And what has been the most popular activity when it comes to the education? Is it the financial education, like maybe investing or, like investing in startups and so on? Or was it more on potentially becoming coaches or, data, et cetera?
Yeah. So, we have overall, workshops, and I think the financial literacy programs that we put on are extremely important just to kind of, give the guys, bring in different speakers and, so the guys can hear different perspectives on what they can do to set themselves up, financially post-playing career, and, some of the, educate them on some of the players who have not had success managing their money during their playing career. I know obviously ESPN put out the documentary, one of their 30 for 30 programs called Broke. And I know, some clips from that segment have been shown, and just, trying to show the players that, this is real life. Here's some things that we can help you with to make sure that, you're not put in the same position. And so I think the financial literacy, educational pieces that we do, the players definitely appreciate. And, we receive positive feedback, but then also individually, different players have different interests. And so a lot of players will come up and let different members of the front office know of some of their individual interests, post-playing career. And then we can help kind of put those individuals in or connect them with someone as kind of like a mentor that can answer some more of their questions. If it's obviously if we don't have the resources internally, then we'll turn to, maybe one of our corporate partners, or, if it's politics, a political figure, just, some type of business mentor that we can put these individuals in touch with, just to provide them the resources and, help educate them and give them someone that can help answer some of their questions better than we can.
Absolutely. All right, Peter. So the reactions game, I'm going to name a public figure or a association and a word, a combination of words, and you have to tell me the first reaction, word that comes to your mind. All right?
Yeah.
All right. NBA.
Phenomenal.
Victor Oladipo.
All-star.
Indianapolis Colts.
Peyton Manning.
Bankers Life Fieldhouse.
Best arena in the NBA.
And last but not least, Goga Bitadze.
So talented, bright future.
Awesome. I remember we were talking about Goga, and it's just awesome. I think he's playing now he's both with Pacers and he's also getting games in the G League, isn't it?
He definitely. So yes, Goga, he played, several games for us. And then at the same time, he's played some games for Fort Wayne Mad Ants, and, he's an unbelievable player, extremely, excited about his future. With the current makeup of the team, having Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis, there wasn't, a ton of opportunity for Goga to get, some of the minutes he probably deserved during the regular season. So having the opportunity for him to go up to Fort Wayne to, continue to play is great. I think, players, they can do a lot development-wise during practice, but, one of the best ways for players to continue to grow and develop is by, playing games, and having the opportunity for that to occur in the G League has been, phenomenal for Goga. And, I think he's really appreciated having the opportunity to go to Fort Wayne. I know he's always excited about, playing. And so, his mentality is phenomenal. Anytime he's in Fort Wayne, I'm up there as well watching. And, I've really, I always enjoy watching him play, and I'm excited about him. I think he's going to have extremely successful career in the NBA.
That's awesome. Peter, thank you for taking the time to join me on this chat. I truly appreciate that. If someone would love to connect with you, I know you're a very busy man and you're getting into a long season, for a couple of months. But just in case, if someone has, wants to find out more or has a specific question that only you might be able to answer it regarding your path or your experience and so on, what would be the best way to do it?
Email, Eugene, is probably the best. And my email, it says P Dinwiddie, so P and then DINWIDDIE, and then @pacers.com.
Perfect. I'll link it in the episode notes for the audience. And Peter, again, thanks a lot for your time. Good luck with the rest of the season. I think you mentioned the first game is against 76ers on Saturday. Yeah. There are some games which are going to be good for my time zone. I think they will start at 11 my time PM. So that's definitely the games I'm going to watch. Mm-hmm. Not sure about the ones at 1 or 2 a.m. because I'm not a night person, but still, personally, I'm looking forward to those games and to just follow the success and how the Pacers organization will move forward, especially on and off the court. So thanks a lot, Peter, and stay safe and take care.
Eugene, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Best of luck, stay safe and healthy, and safe travels.
Thank you.
Thank you.